Hi, my name is Pam. Hi, what is that? My name is Pamela. Welcome back to my videos. Hi, my name is Pamela. Welcome to my channel. Let me preface this by saying that everyone studies a bit differently. Everybody's going to have a different way that works for them. These are some of my own personal tips that I think really work well when you're trying to study. Let's just get started. I said this in a video that I've already filmed and it's probably going to be up very soon. But when you're doing your homework or when you're studying in this instance, I think it's very important that you separate your relaxing area from your this is my work area. What do I mean by that? Don't do your homework on your bed. I'm someone who used to do this. I used to sit over here, lay on it, and have my laptop on me and try and work through. It doesn't work. It's not going to work for you. You're less likely to want to continue on doing your homework or studying. You're in a lazy position, you're in your relaxing position. So why would you want to do homework? And I do think this is something that you can kind of take into practice in everything that you do in your life. There should be an area that is dedicated to the hard stuff, to the work, to the studying. And then there should be an area that you have in your house that is specifically only for you relaxing. You'll probably find that you get things done a lot better when you have an area that's only for your work or only for studying. And you'll probably find that you just relax a lot easier when you have an area that you consistently go to only for the purpose of relaxing. That's tip number one. Tip number two is going to be when you are at your desk, which again, be at a desk. You need to find a way to focus yourself, to center yourself so that you can focus on what it is that you're doing. Now, I think there's many different ways that you can do this. Some of the ways that I do it is I'm a very musical person. So I focus through music. The way that I study typically is by having some type of music. Now, over the years, I've developed, I guess you could say, the skill of listening to music that has words in it and still being able to focus, but I always focus more when I'm listening to music that doesn't have any words in it. If you're going to listen to music to focus yourself while studying, it's very important that you choose something that doesn't have words in it. And if for some reason you need words in your music, choose songs that you already know. If you choose a song that you don't know, you're more likely to listen to that song and try and hear the lyrics. So if you listen to something that you already know the lyrics to, you're less likely to be listening. It's kind of operating as background noise rather than you actually actively listening to the song. You can, everyone's different. So you don't have to do chill beats or pianos or violins. You can do EDM. You can go crazy with it. I don't know. I did a little bit of everything in high school. And I found that, very soft, chill, mellow beats calm me enough to where I can get my work done. I've also found that thunderstorms, like simulators, rain, thunder, as well as white noise really helps me as well. So there on the internet, there are white noise generators apps that you can download. There are on YouTube, there's tons of celestial noise that you can put in the background. There's tons of ocean noises, ocean sounds, thunderstorms to relax you and center you. I love doing that. Something I also do as well, which is not great, is I watch Twitch. I'll just have it on in the background when I'm trying to get through busy work. That's not really for studying. When you're studying, you're trying to retain the information. But that's just a little extra. If you're trying to get through busy work and it's sorry, my cat is having some fun. But if you're trying to get through busy work, and it's a little dry and you're not having fun doing it, then I would put on something that's not going to take your full attention, something a Twitch stream. That's just a game going on in the background or an old YouTube video that you've already watched. Something that will pique your interest so that you can you keep kind of going back and forth, but nothing that's going to completely distract you from what it is that you're doing. So tip number three, if you're not a music person, try food. Some people really get motivated or can really force themselves to study through food. So a lot of the times we've got to read textbooks, we've got to read books. I had a friend who, she used to motivate herself by feeding herself M&Ms. After she'd finish a set number of pages, she'd get an M&M or she'd get a piece of chocolate, candy, whatever. You'd get to take a bite of your cheeseburger. I don't know. Works best, I think, with sweets, something that, a guilty pleasure type of food, I think. That's also a great way to motivate yourself to keep reading and to keep flipping the page and highlighting and taking notes when it's like a drag. Another thing that you can do in terms of kind of centering yourself is also lighting a candle. I knew someone who she would light a candle and then she would put her headphones in, and I never knew if she was listening to anything, but she would put her headphones in, she'd light a candle, and she was gone. She could do bulk amounts of work. So that might work for you too. Just try things out. Try different things that can help you focus. Another thing that people do, they try to do a large amount of studying in a large amount of time. So they'll say, okay, you know, I have to read this. I have to read like 3 chapters. I'm gonna block off 6 hours or 3 hours, whatever, however long it takes you to read. I'm gonna block off 6 hours to read these 3 chapters and do these 3 quizzes and all this stuff, and I'm just gonna go straight through, no breaks. You can do that. You'll probably burn out maybe like an hour in. You might not. By the end of it, you'll be exhausted and you probably won't remember everything that you did, which is like the point of studying. Take breaks. I think that breaks have a bad rep. I think that they're really important. I think that they help with retention. They help you remember the things that you're actually studying, which is the point, right? So what you can do is work in 30-minute increments and take a 15-minute break. Work in an hour increment, take a 30-minute break. If you find that you can't focus for 30 minutes straight, then start with like 15 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, and then gradually increase the time that you have to spend actually working. Taking breaks. It's a great way to make sure that you don't burn out, and it's a great way to make sure that you're actually focusing and understanding what it is that you're reading. And during those breaks, it's important that you don't like think about the material, if that makes sense. Like, don't try to be like, okay, I just read this, and I don't try to be productive. Your break is your break. Go do something else. Take your mind off of what you're doing completely. Let your mind have a break. Let it forget the work. Because when you come back, you're more likely to remember it. I don't really understand the science behind it, but I do know it works. And I know it might feel like you're wasting time, but you're most likely to be able to sustain that type of like work hard break for a longer period of time than the people who block out 3 whole hours and expect to be able to sit down for those 3 hours and study. And you'll definitely remember more. You'll definitely remember more than they do. And more importantly, you'll probably understand more than they do. If you're reading a book, specifically like in English class or something, like The Great Gatsby, A Tale of Two Cities, something like that. I remember I had to read those books. I had to read A Handmaid's Tale. I remember that we always had these essays that we'd have to write, and we'd have to use quotes from the book, you know, evidence, stuff like that. One of the things that I did to make those essays a breeze was label my book. So I would whenever I was reading through the book, I would make sure to put a sticky note in important plot points, important quotes, just anything that was like significant, that I knew that I could use this in an essay to explain something, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you know you're reading The Great Gatsby, you know that you should be looking for colorful imagery. Like, you're looking for things that depict color. I would take sticky notes and put them next to quotes that, you know, connect to color, so that when the essay comes around and I know that I'm inevitably going to be asked a question like, you know, how does Fitzgerald use color to illustrate this meaning, blah, 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 blah. I can be like, oh, I already have this quote. It's right over here. Good to go. Don't have to waste time searching for the book for the perfect quote. I already know it's right here. Mark with a sticky note important quotes. You might want to like highlight important quotes, but that's not going to help you when you're trying to find things quickly. If you put a sticky note, like you easily, like you find that, you know? Actually, the highlighting leads to the next tip, which is actively reading. This is something that you can do with an actual book, like an author-written narrative book or a textbook. You need to actively read the book. This is for people who are like serious. If you're Googling how to study, I want to give you actual good things that will help you retain what it is that you're studying. The key to understanding chapters and literature is actively reading it. And I don't know if you've heard this term before. I'm not sure if they teach it. I don't know. It's basically engaging with the text. Everyone has a different way that they learn. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people, they work best when they do things. It's important for you to figure out what it is that works for you. So for me, I'm someone who works best when I hear and when I do. So that's how I actively read. So figure out which of those is best, or which of those ways that you learn, and then that's how you actively read. For instance, okay, when I was in high school, my teacher really mainly focused on the visual part, right? So she would have us read these books and she'd have us highlight everything in a different color. Like there were like one thing, red meant something, yellow meant something, and this did nothing for me. This did literally nothing for me. It just irritated me because I wasn't really a visual learner. I am kind of now because I've learned to expand how I learn, which is a whole different video, but at the time, I was not a visual learner at all. So this did nothing but irritate me. The way that I did it was specific to how I learned, which is auditory and through talking and through doing things. So if you're an auditory learner like me, one thing that you can do is get an audiobook version. Listen to it instead of actually like listen to it, because you'll most likely be required to buy the textbook and like to highlight it or to underline it. So do all that stuff, but while you're doing that, also get the audiobook so that you can listen on to it. Sometimes if it's a really old book, there's already an audiobook version of it on YouTube that's completely free. Look for those things, because if you are an auditory learner, you're most likely going to learn from hearing it. You probably notice that you learn when your teacher lectures a bit better. You remember things when you hear them. If that's you, then you're probably an auditory learner. So one of the ways that you should be reading your texts actively is through an audiobook, but also by talking with the text, which sounds crazy. It sounds like you're crazy and you're psycho and whatever. You're reading a text. Something that you can do is read it out loud. Something that you can do is read like a paragraph and then make a comment. You know, say something funny, or just like read it in a funny accent. Engage with the text. If the author says something, contradict him. Say something like, you know what, I don't like the way you wrote that sentence. I think it's stupid. Or, you know, I really like the way that he said this because that makes me think of this. It doesn't even have to be connected to the literature. Just like talk, okay? If you're an auditory learner, you'll remember things if you say them, and you'll remember things if you hear them. For people who are visual learners, that whole highlighting thing I was talking about earlier, that will probably work for you. Underlining stuff, circling things. So when you're reading, make sure that you have literally a plethora of highlighters that you can use, that you can write in a ton of colorful pens. Make sure you have like a ton of really colorful pens that you can write in so that you can visually see what it is that you're trying to learn. When you read a chapter, make a Venn diagram and compare and contrast something, or draw a picture about, you know, a section of the story that really interested you. I know it's little minor things like this that will help you remember and help you to understand. The point is to just engage you. The point is to just make sure that you are understanding and you are actively reading. If that makes sense to you, then that's a visual way of learning, and that's how you should actively read things. If you are someone that learns through doing things, then the way that I think that you might be able to actively read text is it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder if you're someone who does things, because there's really nothing physical in reading. One thing I can suggest is maybe acting it out. Like if it's a book or it's a dialogue, act it out. Actively like take on a persona for each character. You'll definitely remember it if you do that. I think that some people sometimes wonder if they're actively reading or how to know. You feel like you're reading a book and not a textbook. So when you're reading a book, like a narrative book, like A Great Gatsby, Handmaid's Tale, You can hear the author's voice. You can hear character's voice. You know what I'm saying? That's not really ever present in a textbook. But if you're actively reading a textbook, you can pick up on it. Because I do it all the time now, where I can pick up on an author's kind of subtle shift in tone. And most of the time, there's multiple people who write a textbook, but I can still kind of pick up on. Okay, so I feel like I did not explain this adequately, so I'm going to try again. Basically what I'm saying is when you can kind of hear the bias kind of opinions, or you can kind of start to see the biases in the textbook that you're reading, when you start to be able to pick apart things that are opinions or perspectives from someone who believes certain things, then you're probably active reading, because you're starting to notice like little nuances like that. You can think of it like reading two different textbooks on the same topic. They both have different authors, but they're both regarding the same topic. So theoretically, they should be exactly the same, but no, of course not. You know, an author brings their own biases and their own perspectives. So if you can pick up on that when you're reading a textbook, when you can start to see how these facts that are being presented to you are different from how they would be presented to you by someone else, then you're probably active reading. I'm sorry, I don't really know the best way to explain this, but I hope that that kind of helps. It starts to feel like it has a personality. It starts to feel like maybe it's a person talking to you rather than like a computer or mechanical, then you're probably actively reading. I hope that made sense. That was a lot. I've been filming for like 4 hours now. And I'm gonna call it quits for this video. I didn't go in as depth as I could, so if you want a part 2 to this, please let me know. I'm so willing to. Please let me know if this actually helps you in any way, because if it doesn't, then like, I should stop making these videos. But if it does help you, then that'll make me happy. If you like this video, or if you plan on using any of these things, then like the video as well, because it lets me know that these are cool and that you guys want more of them. If you really like dig me, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye.